Introduction. The JF-17 has a very complete defensive system to help you survive on the modern high-threat battlefield. It consists of the following elements. 1. RWR, Radar Warning Receiver. Consists of a display that provides threat awareness by displaying radar signals that are scanning your aircraft arranged by threat direction. 2. Radar and IR countermeasures. These are bundles of chaff and flares that you dispense to confuse enemy missiles trying to hit your aircraft. 3. MAWS, Missile Approach Warning System. Provides alarms when an enemy missile approaches your aircraft. 4. ECM, Electronic Countermeasures. This is an external pod that emits electronic signals to confuse enemy radars, and also it enhances the RWR system by allowing it to determine range to the threats, in addition to direction. Press spacebar to continue. The JF-17 autopilot is active, so that you can take a moment to set up the cockpit. We've also placed DCS on active pause, while we explain the defensive system's details. Press spacebar to continue. The RWR, Radar Warning Receiver. First, we will check that the RWR system is powered up. Check the RWR switch on the AAP panel on the right console. Click on it if it isn't on already. Good. The RWR system is now performing a bit test that lasts 45 seconds, as shown on the highlighted indicator. While we wait for its test to complete, we will explain a few concepts about the RWR. 1. It detects only radar emissions, it cannot detect infrared threats. 2. While the RWR covers 360 degrees around the aircraft, it has two blind spots, directly above and directly below your aircraft. Thus, if you bank hard, you may lose some contacts while they are on the blind spot. 3. The RWR cannot by itself distinguish friend from foe, so it displays all the threats in yellow, except radars that are tracking our aircraft. Those are shown in red and an oral tracking alarm can be heard. If the red contact launches a missile, then its symbol starts flashing and a high-pitched beep will replace the tracking alarm. On the HUD the message missile launch will appear. Surface threats are shown as circles, while airborne threats are shown as rectangles. Press spacebar. Once the bit test has finished, the indicator will read open. The RWR display is overlaid on the HSI and shows our aircraft on the center and the threats arranged around it on their approximate bearings. Now that the RWR is operative, we will activate a couple of ground radar stations, so that you can see their RWR symbology. Press spacebar. Once two yellow contacts have appeared on the RWR display. The RWR has classified this contact as a primary threat, and so it is highlighted with vertical and horizontal lines. The circle identifies this contact as a surface threat. The EWR type code indicates that this is an early warning radar. The yellow color indicates that the system does not know if it is hostile or friendly. Press spacebar to continue. The RWR has classified the other contact as a secondary threat, and so it is designated with just a circle. The RWR display is divided on 3 ring zones. The outer ring is for non-lethal contacts, while the inner ring is for threats considered lethal by the RWR. Thus, the display does not represent the distance from the threats to our aircraft, but rather it represents the level of threat. Critical threats are depicted closer to the center, and less critical or farther from the center. Press spacebar to continue. Now, we will activate a warship, so that you can see their RWR symbology. Press spacebar. Once the new contact has appeared on the RWR display. You can see that the symbol depicts a sea threat, but there is no indication about the type of ship. In light of the newly added contact, the RWR has revised its threat list and has decided that the new contact should be the primary threat, so it marks it with the horizontal and vertical lines. Press spacebar to continue. OK, now we will activate a couple of aerial contacts, so that you can see their RWR symbology. Press spacebar. Once 2 yellow rectangles have appeared on the RWR display. The rectangle symbol identifies this contact as an air threat. The type code indicates that this is an A-50 AWACS aircraft. As this type of aircraft is not being used by our coalition, we can assume that it is hostile, but the RWR doesn't know that and paints it yellow. Press spacebar to continue. This is another aircraft, as denoted by its rectangle symbol. The type code identifies it as a Boeing EEA AWACS aircraft, thus most likely it belongs to our coalition. Press spacebar. OK, now we will activate a SAM battery that will shoot at us, so that you can learn how the symbology is on this case. We will also deactivate all the previous contacts, in order to have a clearer view of the RWR display.
Tracking.
The SAM is now tracking our aircraft,
Tracking.
as indicated by the symbol being colored in red. The tracking alarm should be heard.
Tracking.
The type code is
Tracking.
SA6, which identifies the contact as a SAM SA6 launcher.
Tracking. 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 Tracking.
The SAM has fired a missile, as now the RWR symbol is blinking. Also, the audio alert is now a high-pitched beep. On the HUD, a MSLLCH message is displayed. Don't worry, we are just outside the range of the SAM battery. You should be able to see the SAM ascending towards us from the 10 o'clock bearing. You can use the following view keys to follow the action. F6, to view the missiles in flight. F7, to see the SAM battery on the ground. F10, to see a map view. F1, to return to our cockpit. The SAM battery will fire 3 times, and once it is out of missiles its RWR symbol will turn yellow. Press spacebar once this happens.
Tracking. Tracking. Tracking.
Next, we will try an air engagement with the hostile aircraft coming towards us, firing a Fox 3 active missile. The RWR has detected the enemy plane. The code F-18 means that it is an F-18 Hornet. On the briefing there is a chart with the different types that the RWR can display. The new contact can be in one of 2 states. Yellow, the enemy aircraft's radar is in search mode. Red, the enemy aircraft's radar is tracking us, we must prepare for a missile being fired soon. Press spacebar once the enemy symbol changes from yellow to red. The enemy fighter has launched a missile. The RWR contact symbol is now blinking. On the HUD, the message missile launch is displayed. Don't worry, for training reasons we have made your aircraft invulnerable and the enemy missile can't damage us.
Missile, missile, missile. 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 Missile, missile, missile.
MAWS stands for the Missile Avoidance and Warning System, which warns us when a missile gets onto our rear hemisphere. CM stands for countermeasures and is a system that allows us to dispense flares and chaff to confuse enemy missiles. We can check the status of the MAWS on the combat page of the mission computer. For that, we will use the left MFCD. Please click on its menu button. Now, click on the CMBT menu option. Good. The middle section of the display is called the OESP subpage and stands for Optical Electronic Self-Protection Dispenser. The message OESP off means that the system has not been powered yet. Click on the highlighted button of the AP panel, on the right console, to power up the OESP. The OESP system is now performing its power on bit test. Wait a few seconds until it finishes. The OESP system has finished its bit test and is now operative, in standby mode. Even though the MAWS has no explicit status indication on the OESP subpage, in fact it is now active. Press spacebar to continue. Next, we will try an air engagement with the hostile aircraft coming behind us and armed with only non-active missiles, that normally are not seen by the RWR. This will put to test the JF-17's MAWS system, which can alert us about any type of missiles on our rear hemisphere. Press spacebar to activate the new hostile. The RWR has detected the enemy plane. The code M2K means that it is a Mirage 2000.
Tracking, tracking.
Okay,
Tracking.
the red color tells us that the enemy aircraft's radar is actively tracking us.
Tracking.
The tracking audio alarm should be heard. The enemy will fire upon us very soon.
Tracking, tracking, tracking.
The enemy fighter has launched a missile. On the RWR the enemy symbol is now blinking. On the HUD, the message missile launch is displayed.
Missile, missile, missile.
The MAWS has detected the enemy missile behind your aircraft. The missile audio alarm is heard. The system can't detect the specific type of missile, so it denotes it with just an M.
Missile,
The MAWS
missile,
has detected
missile.
another missile behind your aircraft. Press spacebar once the enemy missile has hit or missed you. While the MAWS requires no configuration on our part, other than having the system powered on, the countermeasures systems allows several options, which we will now review. The most important option is CM mode, which has two options. Manual mode. Countermeasures are dispensed only when you press the T2AFT button on the HOTAS. Auto. The RWR dispenses the CM automatically, as needed. Leave it in man and press spacebar to continue. Note that we have reactivated some contacts on the RWR, in order to later on appreciate the effect of the SPJ pod. The highlighted option is CM type, which has three options. CH dispenses chaff only. When selected, the program field toggles only those programs that dispense chaff. FL dispenses flares only. When selected, the program field toggles only those programs that dispense flares. CH plus FL dispenses simultaneously chaff and flares. When selected, the program field toggles only those programs that dispense both. Press spacebar to continue. The CM system has 5 programs, prog01 to prog05, with preset amounts of chaff and or flares to dispense, as well as the timing of the dispense sequence. The highlight shows which is the program currently selected. You can customize these programs on the special tab of the DCS options menu. The default values are shown on a chart that we have included on the briefing. Press spacebar to call up the briefing and take a look at it. This is the amount of flares that you've left. The number below it is the bingo level, where the system will warn that you are going to run out of them. Press spacebar to continue. This is the amount of chaff that you've left. The number below it is the bingo level, where the system will warn that you are going to run out of them. Press spacebar. Next, we will learn about the jammer pod, but in order to fully appreciate its effect over the RWR, please increase the HSI scale to 60 nautical miles. Good. Now that the HSI range scale is set to 60 nautical miles, press spacebar to continue with our training. The pod is performing its bit test. It lasts around 15 seconds. This is the pod's jamming type. Select between. Type 2, start jamming when an enemy radar is searching for us. Type 1, start jamming only when a radar has locked our aircraft. Select Type 1 and press spacebar to continue. The highlighted option is the jamming direction. It can be FWD, emits interference only on the forward hemisphere. Use this direction if you have friendly aircrafts behind you. BWD, emits interference only on the back hemisphere. F plus B, emits interference in every direction. Select FWD and press spacebar to continue. OK, now we will activate the SPJ pod. Click T2 forward to activate the jammer. It takes a few seconds to warm up, during which the status will blink. Once steady, the jammer is emitting interference. Pressing T2 forward again will deactivate the jammer. For the upcoming exercise, please leave the pod on standby. Press spacebar to continue. We will now release the active pause and place a SAM unit ahead of you. Let's practice dispensing a bit of chaff. 1. On the OESP page, make sure that the program prog01 is selected. 2. Fly straight ahead until a SAM is launched at you. 3. Once a SAM is coming your way, take note of its approximate bearing on the RWR display and turn the aircraft to the right until the missile is on your 9 o'clock, the left wingtip. 4. Press T2 AFT on your HOTAS to release a chaff sequence. Try to spot the missile to your left and repeat the release if needed. Press spacebar to begin the exercise.
Tracking, tracking, tracking. 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 Tracking, tracking, tracking,
Missile fired. Take note of its bearing on the RWR. Turn the aircraft to the right, to place the missile on your 9. Press T2 AFT on your HOTAS to release chaff. Try to spot the missile to your left and repeat the release if needed.
tracking, 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 missile, 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 missile. Tracking, tracking, tracking.
The chaff dispenser is now empty.
Missile, missile, missile.
There are no more SAMs in the air. Good job. This ends our training mission. We hope you have learned something new. Please press Escape and exit the mission.